everyday expenses have skyrocketed by double digits since Biden and Harris both took office.
Since then, the burden of record-high inflation has continued to push the limits for people across the country.
The number of Americans living paycheck to paycheck jumped to 61%.
Her domestic policy, economic policy, immigration policy, foreign policy, energy policy.
Today, we'll take a look at the 2024 U.S. elections from a religious perspective. Both Donald Trump and Kamala Harris have had significant influence over religious communities, but the scandals emerging during this election cycle have made their relationship with faith even more controversial. For Christian voters, the question of which leader truly upholds religious values has been widely debated. Trump's strong connection with conservative Christians and Kamala Harris's emphasis on social justice reveal how religious narratives are being employed in this election. However, recent scandals have cast new light on how these leaders relate to faith. In this video, we'll explore how Donald Trump and Kamala Harris use religious rhetoric and how these scandals may affect their religious image, especially from a Christian perspective. Now, let's turn to our Christian speaker. Considering the scandals that have surfaced during this election and the religious rhetoric of both leaders, do you believe Donald Trump's relationship with Christianity is genuine? Have these scandals damaged his religious image?
Well, when it comes to Donald Trump's relationship with Christianity, it's certainly a complicated issue. On one hand, he has positioned himself as a champion of conservative Christian values. His administration made several moves that appealed directly to evangelical Christians, whether it was supporting pro-life policies, advocating for religious freedom, or appointing conservative judges. These actions gained him a lot of support from Christian communities, particularly among evangelicals who saw him as a defender of their values in a secularizing society. However, these scandals, especially the ones questioning his personal morals, integrity, and behavior, have raised concerns about how sincere his relationship with faith truly is. Christianity emphasizes humility, compassion, and moral consistency, and Trump's conduct has often been at odds with these principles. For some Christians, this creates a conflict. They appreciate his policies, but struggle with his personal conduct. At the end of the day, many Christians seem willing to overlook these personal flaws for the sake of political gains that align with their religious beliefs. So, while his image has been tarnished by scandals for a significant portion of Christian voters, his alignment with their political and cultural concerns seems to outweigh the questions surrounding his faith.
That's an interesting perspective, but it raises a key question. How do you reconcile supporting someone whose personal behavior and morals seem to contradict core Christian teachings? Especially when we talk about values like honesty, humility, and compassion, isn't there a risk that supporting such a figure might send a conflicting message about what Christians stand for in the public sphere?
This is indeed a challenging issue among Christians. For many, the personal morality of a political leader is important. However, there's a balance to be struck here. Trump's personal flaws are acknowledged, but his policy decisions are seen as strongly defending and upholding Christian values. Issues like opposing abortion, protecting religious freedom, and appointing conservative judges are some of the key reasons for supporting him. Some Christians believe that God can use imperfect individuals in his plans, as seen in various examples throughout the Bible. So, while Trump's flaws are recognized, many in the Christian community view his policies as having a more significant impact on their faith and way of life. In short, the focus shifts from personal moral failings to policy outcomes.
Trump's immigration policies, particularly the bans on Muslim entry into the United States, have been highly controversial. I'm curious about how these policies are viewed by Christians. Many Christians advocate for inclusivity and helping others. How do Trump's policies create a conflict with the teachings of Christianity? Is this situation causing a divide within Christian communities?
This is indeed a complex issue for many Christians. On one hand, there is a strong emphasis in Christianity on loving one's neighbor and providing aid to those in need, which aligns with the principles of compassion and hospitality. The immigration policies implemented by Trump have raised significant concerns among many in the Christian community because they seem to contradict these fundamental values. However, some Christians believe that security and protecting the nation's borders are also part of their responsibility. They argue that these policies are necessary for national security and that they can coexist with Christian values of compassion. That said, there are certainly voices within the Christian community that feel torn or conflicted. They see the call to love and welcome the stranger as fundamental to their faith and feel that these policies do not reflect that teaching. This has led to discussions and debates among congregations, with some supporting the policies and others opposing them based on their interpretation of Christian teachings. Overall, it highlights a division in how different Christian groups interpret their faith in relation to contemporary political issues.
Kamala Harris's rhetoric and actions regarding women's rights and social justice have frequently sparked debate. Additionally, her background as a Christian has drawn criticism from certain Christian groups. How do Harris's positions on these issues create a conflict with Christian beliefs? Moreover, what impact do you think this will have on the 2024 elections?
Kamala Harris's stance on women's rights and social justice is indeed a contentious issue among many Christians. While some see her advocacy for women's rights as a positive reflection of justice and equality, others argue that certain aspects of her platform, particularly regarding issues like abortion, conflict with traditional Christian values. For many Christians, the belief in the sanctity of life is a core tenet of their faith, and Harris's support for reproductive rights can be seen as contrary to those beliefs. This has led to significant pushback from conservative Christian groups, who argue that her policies do not align with their understanding of moral teachings. Furthermore, Harris's approach to social justice can also be divisive. While many Christians advocate for helping marginalized communities, some feel that her methods might prioritize political correctness over genuine Christian compassion. They argue that a true Christian approach would emphasize charity and personal responsibility rather than systemic change alone. As we approach the 2024 elections, this could polarize Christian voters. Some may feel compelled to support her due to her progressive stance on social issues, while others might distance themselves based on her perceived departures from traditional Christian doctrine. This division could ultimately influence voter turnout and engagement within the Christian community.
Kamala Harris's promises and policies regarding immigrant rights sparked considerable debate, especially during the 2020 elections. While she advocates for immigrant rights, some Christian groups argue that this approach could imply a violation of the law. How does this situation affect the relationship between Christian beliefs and immigrant rights? Do you think this creates a rift among Christians who support Harris?
The relationship between Christian beliefs and immigrant rights is indeed a complex one. Many Christians see the advocacy for immigrant rights as an extension of their faith, emphasizing compassion, hospitality, and the biblical call to care for the stranger. For them, supporting policies that protect immigrants is not just a political stance, but a moral obligation. However, there are also Christians who feel that strict adherence to the law is paramount, and they see Harris's approach as potentially undermining the rule of law. This has led to some divisions within the Christian community. Some believers feel torn between their faith's teachings on compassion and the legal implications of immigration policies. It's essential to recognize that Christians are not a monolith. There are diverse perspectives within the faith. Many support Harris's stance on immigration, arguing that it aligns with their understanding of Jesus' teachings on love and acceptance. Others express concern that such policies could lead to chaos or undermine societal order. In summary, this topic certainly has the potential to create a rift among Christians as they navigate the tension between upholding their beliefs and engaging with complex social issues.
As we approach the 2024 elections, there is significant concern about how the political climate, particularly the actions and rhetoric of candidates like Trump and Harris, impacts Muslim communities in America. What are your thoughts on the potential effects of this election on Muslims in the US? Do you believe the election outcomes could lead to increased discrimination, or conversely, opportunities for greater acceptance and representation?
The 2024 elections certainly hold significant implications for Muslim communities in the US. The rhetoric and policies of candidates like Trump have historically led to increased discrimination and hostility towards Muslims. Trump's past comments and travel bans have fostered an environment of fear and suspicion, which can have lasting impacts on how Muslims are perceived and treated in society. On the other hand, with Kamala Harris's emphasis on inclusivity and her track record of advocating for marginalized communities, there's a glimmer of hope for greater acceptance and representation. If Harris or a similar candidate wins, it could signal a shift towards more inclusive policies that protect and uplift Muslim voices in the political landscape. However, the reality is that the election outcomes alone won't change the systemic issues at play. Muslims will still face challenges, and the political climate can contribute to either the perpetuation of discrimination or the advancement of rights. It's crucial for Muslim communities to remain engaged, advocate for their rights, and work towards building alliances with other marginalized groups to ensure their voices are heard, regardless of who wins the election.
Thank you to our speakers for sharing their insights on the complex interplay between politics and religion in the context of the upcoming 2024 elections. It's clear that the rhetoric and policies of candidates can have profound effects on communities, particularly for Muslims in America. As we navigate this election season, it's essential for us to engage in thoughtful discussions and advocate for a society that values inclusivity and understanding. Your perspectives today have shed light on the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. We encourage our viewers to reflect on these issues and participate in the democratic process, ensuring that all voices are heard. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more discussions like this. Thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you in our next video.